Hello, hello, hello. So yeah, it's been a bit. Busy with college and stuff. Uh, but college. So I'm going to grad school, data science, and also Christmas stuff, all that kind of stuff going on. So now I'm back for always a little bit. I'm gonna try to keep doing this day to day. So three topics today are going to be the conservative civil war, winners and losers. Um, City of Thieves, a book I just read. And see, there's a third one. I feel like the third one was. It was just kind of like, oh, right. The Box Generation article. So let's get into it. So winners and losers, because I kind of feel like there was like a 2 week period where the conservative civil war was happening, and I kind of feel like it's died down a bit. Um, Turns out when you have another side that obviously still hates all of us, it's hard to keep fighting. That said, the war winners and losers. And the winners and losers were not actually the two sides fighting. Um, so winners. Nick Fuentes won over the past couple weeks. He had a really, really good outing against Piers Morgan. That really made him look good. Don't agree with some of what Nick Fuentes says, but he hit a home run on that. Um, Basically came across as most reasonable, which is actually a good look for him. Turns out when you're not saying crazy bullshit, you actually can sound good to people, which is great. Um, he backed off of his most extreme opinions, which is good, and he basically didn't sound crazy, which is good. Another winner, Ben Shapiro. A lot of people went after Ben Shapiro over the past few weeks, and he didn't come. He didn't end up looking bad. Yeah, we get it. A lot of people don't like the guy. Yeah, but that doesn't change anything, does it? That he's still the head. He's still the president of the Daily Wire. He never crashed out. He had a really good counter speech in TPUSA. I'd highly recommend watching it. And he didn't take the bait. He did not take the bait. He uh he basically went after Candace Owens for being a crazy bitch. He went after Tucker Carlson for basically being a sellout. And he did go after Nick Fuentes a little bit in his speech, but he basically just quoted him and said that he is a racist neo-Nazi, like different things that Nick Fuentes is actually like standing by. So yeah, he just called out what it was. He doesn't look bad, and it's obvious that like people on his staff have more right-wing opinions than he does, and he allows it. Mike Knowles, Matt Walsh, more right-wing than he is, but he says, hey, you can have your opinion as long as you tell the truth. That was the perfect response to everything. And obviously, I cannot help but feel, but there is a he basically held the line and just didn't say anything about everything, the Civil War stuff until like TPUSA, and then suddenly there's a million articles on YouTube about basically conservative, center right, hold the line all at once. I think that's organized, and it worked very, very well because it kind of gave everybody permission in the comment sections to be like, "Yeah, we don't believe in this crazy stuff. These people don't represent us. That Candace Owens is crazy. Tucker can suck it, and people are trying to like assimilate Nick into the board, which is gonna I think work. Um, so I think next year at some point there's going to be a Nick Fuentes Ben Shapiro interview. I would make that prediction. Um, and they're just gonna have to get along a little bit because they're the two people who came out the best. Now, coming out badly out of this is Vivek came across really, really badly. Candace Owens really, really badly. Tucker lost a lot of credibility. Um, who else? Yeah, basically those three. Vivek just came across as anti-American, basically. Like you want to put like how do I put this out without being bad? Just denying the fact that people are having a tough time is not a winning argument. Ben Shapiro's done a very good job skirting the line of saying, yeah, things can be bad, but you can still make things work, which is the correct conservative mindset to have. Vivek is basically just calling people whiny, which isn't going to work. I'll talk about in the next section why that's not going to work. Vivek just came across as such a pretentious prick. He didn't come across like somebody who actually cares about people. He came across as just haughty, self-righteous. So he came across badly. I don't think he's a presidential contender anymore. Also came off badly. Candace Owens. People just started saying, actually, she's crazy. And even the people on the far right who like some of the far right stuff, they're still like, no, we're not going to accept Candace as one of ours. She lost lack of credibility. It turns out that accusing a widow of murdering her husband is not actually a good way of uniting people. I know, shocker. Especially with all the other crazy stuff she said. She's just a crazy person. Maybe an episode or something. I don't know. It seems like she's lost touch with reality and serve fans. Tucker, not as bad, but we are in a clash of civilizations right now. And let me preface this by saying I really respect Islam and Muslims. If you have a belief system and you really stick by it, I credit to you. I respect that. But it's still a fact that we have our civilization that's being colonized by their civilization. As a member of the civilization that's being colonized, I don't really appreciate the colonizers. Not out of anything against them, it's just the relation between us and them is not going well. And we happen to notice that in every nation that they get a certain amount of power in, they start killing my people, which I don't like. I'm not blaming all of them, but I'm just saying there's a certain percentage of that group that doesn't really believe in the whole go coexist kind of thing. And not true in UK, not true in Nigeria, not true in a lot of other places. So when Tucker is like, "Oh, Islam's not a threat," bullshit. You're wrong, and you're bought by Qatar. We know that you have a house over there. There's no reason to have a house in Qatar. It's a bad weather location, unless you're like bought by them. So if you to accuse other people of being like owned by another country, you are building a house in Qatar. Fuck off. You you two talking son of a bitch. Sorry. Anyway, that's my opinion. So he lost. Another boy, big winner though. Vance. Vance just came across smelling like roses. We're all really trying hard to make him the heir apparent, which worries me. It does worry me how Vance is like the de facto heir apparent right now, and I think he's smart. I just don't think he's been tested by fire, and he's being really protected. And he was only a senator for like 2 years. He hasn't really had to face the winds of fortune very much. No, who has faced the winds of fortune and came across looking great is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has been just in the middle of things for the past 10 years and has not made a mistake. He is golden. I'm sorry, anybody who answers questions in a press conference in Spanish and English while being America First, I mean, dear God, that guy is good. I mean, he's just competent, solid. He's solid. He's the guy who should be the next president. Marco Rubio should not be Vance. I don't, and nothing against Vance. I think Vance is great, but I don't think he is tested well enough. But it is what it is. We got to unite behind somebody, and if it's got to be Vance, it's got to be Vance. That's fine. If we don't have anybody else who can unite the whole party, it's fine. Um. Winners and losers. Winners are Ben Shapiro, Nick Fuentes, and Vance. The losers are Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And then there's all the minor figures who I think the correct approach to have is really just to kind of stay out of the fight. The movement as a whole matters more. Us being united, us winning the next election is what matters more than any particular opinion about Israel or economic issues or whatever else. Winning is what matters. And I think Ben Shapiro gets that. The thing I don't like about Nick Fuentes and his fans is they're like, "Oh yeah, we got so much support around by young white men." It's like, congratulations, you have the support of 12.5% of the population. Well done. That's not enough to win, or anywhere close. And if you think you can win, put up a candidate. See if you can win. Actually do the thing. You can't just win by having a lot of emotions and being really passionate about things. That doesn't make you win. You know how you win? You win an election. You run for office. You get a position where you can represent your views in the public square. You don't in actual political office, not just the public square. You actually have to have a political office where you can actually do things to actually make things happen that you want to have happen. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with any particular policy you have, but you have to actually win something. So go for it, win something. But just whining about things and being emotional about it, I'm so mad at me. I let my emotions dictate my behavior. Um, that doesn't sound consistent. Sorry. So yeah, we'll see. But Ben Shapiro can do. His platform actually tells people to vote. Nick Fuentes told people to do last election. He told people not to vote. That's not a great strategy. You don't win by having emotions. They can help, but they have to be fueling something else, something productive. Anyway, that's my opinion. Next topic, the compact. So this was an interesting article. It kind of went through the balance. The compact. Basically, this leftist guy posted an article basically talking about how white men have not done particularly well over the past 10 years. I'm not saying anything. He thinks it's basically reverse, well, just discrimination. From what he's experienced in media and what he's seen in academia and what he's seen in Hollywood. Well, the percent changes are really, really shocking. They've gone like white men have gone from like 40% in all these fields to like 15%, and it hasn't affected the older guys. Hasn't affected the older guys at all. So it doesn't affect boomers or Gen Xers. They kind of were already like grandfathered into the system as they were basically grandfathered into the system. Where it's affected millennials and Gen Z men who are trying to get into the system and are basically selected against by the people gatekeeping. So this happens in media, academia, all these institutions that have gone way to the left, and the quality's gone down. Yeah, it's all of these groups, and it's not just affected conservative white guys. It's affected all of us, which is why we're all going to the fight. Which is why somebody like Nick Fuentes gets traction, is because we can see that we're losing, and it's not really our fault. Now there are areas obviously where this hasn't happened. Basically, I think a lot of people chose fields that maybe not necessarily wanted to go into, because it would basically give them a future. So a lot of them went to tech, where despite the biases of the hiring people, there's just not enough of people to really eliminate us from the hiring pool. Um, Military type stuff, trades. Basically, we went to fields where there was enough demand for the people that this kind of stuff didn't affect us as much. But eventually, we just don't like it. We don't like the fact that we're being selected against for no really good reason. So yeah, that's driving extremist politics. Do I think Nick Fund is the answer? No. I think he is diagnosing the problem. He's not providing any answers. He's an entertainer. But interesting article. And especially interesting because I like reading a left wing argument for right wing beliefs, I guess. Um, because it's just they were forced into an opinion. They weren't given an opinion. They're basically kicking and screaming against it. So that means their arguments for being more sympathetic to right wing beliefs are stronger. So yeah, interesting article. Really, a lot of people talked about it. Final thing I want to talk about is basically I read a book, City of Thieves. Basically, a really good book. Basically, a kid in St. Petersburg and a deserter have to are given orders to find a dozen eggs for the general who is running St. Petersburg during the World War II siege of the city. Really good book. I wouldn't say A plus book, like nothing particularly like deep, nothing really deep going on, but it's just a good historical fiction tale. Some good quotes. Quotes didn't quite tie together. Um, but it's important to realize is how bad war is. Like, yeah, it might be necessary at some point, but like, you don't want war. It is an ugly, ugly thing. the thing that people in St. Petersburg had to go through during that time period. And that's why I'm like, this is where you got to remember just how bad of a person Hitler was. He destroyed Europe, and gained nothing for it. The amount of damage he caused to right wingers over the past 100 years is unfathomable. Is over the past 80 years is unfathomable. He might have destroyed Russian civilization. Did both the damage to Europe in the moment, how many people died in that whole thing. And then ideologically, he basically has been a huge anchor for any kind of conservative mindset in Europe for the past 80 years. Hasn't affected America as much, but it did affect us here too. That is not good. Out of all the peoples that are going to disappear in the next 100 years, I have no sympathies for Germany. The amount of damage that they caused to the West, no, I can ulcer. So I'm not particularly upset about them changing to something else. But yeah, the amount of damage. Anyway, really good book though. Basically two. They're not brothers, but they're basically two brothers going on a stupid quest. And just important to realize just how bad war is. People are like, "Oh, we'll fight against everything." No, for all of its faults, liberal democracy is pretty good, as compared to the other systems. Just sucks that it seems to be suicidal at the moment. So I'm going to do another video right after this about the past 100 years. I'm going to call it a century in review. So I'll be back on real quick.